final Tai Chi Chuan essential that we'll be learning in this Chuan is called an, which is usually translated as push, because that's kind of what it looks like a shove, but with more refined mechanics. The force of an first presses downward to uproot your opponent, and then pushes forward and through. One more time. Let's take a look at the whole movement, and then we'll break it down piece by piece.
An, pushing energy. An, pushing energy.
Number one, turn and lift hands. So shift the weight to the left foot so that you can pivot on the right heel. The toes pointing out 90 degrees towards the right, and the weight's all 90% on the left foot and only 10% in the right heel. Number two, empty stance and gather. Now shift the weight onto the right foot, making the left foot empty and bringing those left toes in, toes gently touching the ground. The weight here is 90% on the right leg and the left toes just tapping the floor. Number three, step out. So the left leg floats up, then steps out just to the side of that round brown circle in the front part of your mat. You land heel first and then sink down into the stance, the toes pointing directly towards the front. Now the weight remains 60% on the right leg, this back leg, and only 40% on the front leg. Number four, sink and gather. The feet stay right where they are. The weight 60% in the back leg and only 40% in the front leg. Rotate the body slightly to the back and the right and sink down into that hip, getting down into it. 5, push forward. The waist turns while you're shifting the weight forward onto that left leg. As you push, the right toes pivot inward slightly and you feel your rear leg pushing off the ground. Finally, shifting back to neutral, I take my weight back to the right foot, step in side by side, hands float down, the feet step back together, head floats up, spine gets longer, and make sure to breathe.
An, pushing energy.
Number one, turn and lift hands. I turn my waist towards the right as I pivot on that right leg. The hands brush up in front of the chest. Number two, gather energy in an empty step. So I shift my weight forward, the hands gathering right in front of the body, the elbows sinking down slightly as I step into that empty step. Number three, step out. The waist rotates slightly to the right while the hands pretty much stay right where they are. Number four, sink and gather. Rotating the body slightly to the right, again, sink down into that right hip. The hands and arms naturally sink down while that body is turning. Number five, push forward, and I turn the waist while shifting into that front forward stance, pushing my hands forward as I go, and both hands push forward in an upwards arc. Finally, stepping back into neutral, I shift my weight back to the right foot, step back, the hands floating out in front, then drifting down by my sides, the feet stepping together, the head floating up towards the ceiling, the spine getting longer, and don't forget to breathe. Okay, third time's the charm. This is the pass where we talk about the energy and the imagery that you put into all of your movements. So the energy of an is one of uprooting before you push. So watch how the energy kind of goes down, gets into the root, and then lifts the opponent after you push. This is a principle we're going to be introducing later on in your lessons. Number 1, turn and lift hands. So imagine both hands deflecting or brushing an opponent's hands away to the side. Number 2, gather in an empty step. So my head and eyes turn to look forward towards the direction of the incoming energy. Number 3, step out. Now here's a key principle we keep coming back to, isn't it? Every time I step out, I want to make sure that my head stays floating up. Suspending from the crown is a basic principle. Number 4, sink and gather. The waist initiates this movement and drives the body rotation, and imagine both hands sinking down into the opponent's arms, pushing them down, getting into the root of their energy, and then pushing forward. Feel your rear leg generating that power from the ground, and you push out and up. Put your back into the push, as if lifting a heavy door. So this key principle, hollow the chest and round the back, will make you feel like your back is going in one direction while your hands are going the other direction. Finally, the neutral position, I shift back, both hands floating out to shoulder level, and then floating down by my sides. Breathe out, which is a great way to dissipate all the energy that you've been gathering. Step back, feet together, finishing on.
Each time you practice, remain fully present and try to pay attention to your body's sensations.